All right, guys. So, welcome to another comic review, and this one comes another book sent to me by my friend Chris. Chris, thank you as always, brother. And today we're going to be talking about Eddie Brock Carnage, Killing Me, by Charles Soule. So this comic, it was the one thing I was most looking forward to out of the insanity that was Venom War. If you guys remember when I talked about that event not too long ago, Venom War basically ended with when did I do that? Oh, that was like back in April, so a couple months ago. But essentially, what it was, yeah, I did look it up on my thing. Basically, what had happened was that the Carnage symbiote and Eddie Brock are without Carnage is without Cletus, and Eddie is no longer without Venom. So the Carnage symbiote tracks down Eddie after Venom War, and is essentially like, hey, we're both gonna die. So how about we help each other, and we'll work out the details there. So now Eddie is now bonded to Carnage, and now has to keep that psychotic entity within him, and by only hunting down like other killers. But Carnage has other plans. Carnage wants a new candidate. He wants a better. He wants someone better than Eddie. So the two of them basically are now forced together while Eddie tries to contain the Carnage symbiote. But the Carnage symbiote isn't a slouch either. It's trying to work its way into Eddie's mind and take more and more control from him. And Eddie is desperately trying, and I do stress trying, to get at Eddie to keep Carnage out of his psyche. So the only way he can keep Carnage's psychotic urges at bay is to just hunt down other killers. Now, the big thing also is that Carnage also, like I said, Carnage doesn't want to be with Eddie. He has other candidates, and one of them is Hela, which is interesting because I'll talk about this now. Marvel announced some symbiote-centric events such as Spiral Death, which is a Venom Carnage Spider-Man event. That looks interesting. And we also have the Queen in Black, which is going to be a big thing because it was teased that Hela is going to be the Queen in Black. So is Carnage going to bond to her? Because that was one of his candidates he wants to bond with, is Hela, the goddess of death. Which I don't know how much continuity that is, but because right now in Immortal Thor, the Norse gods, which also I need to talk about real fast, because like in Immortal Thor, in Al Ewing's Immortal Thor, the Norse gods got cut off and their memories were wiped of them. So everyone thinks they're unreal, but Hela's still kicking around. In fact, she's going to play a big part in the Null miniseries, which will probably tie into Queen in Black. So we'll see. Anyway, getting back into this, Eddie is fighting. He is at the lowest of low, and the only thing that's keeping him from going completely nuts against Carnage is, they're only keeping each other alive. This comic is awesome, and it really sucks that it came to an end too fast, because it ends on a, oh boy, this is gonna get good. The artwork is done by, at least for the first 3 issues, Jesus Zayas, who's a really good artist. The problem is Zayas is a fantastic artist. I'm not taking that away from them. It's just that on a monthly ongoing, Zayas doesn't really stay on. Like if it's a mini-series like Punisher, you probably get him the whole time. But on a monthly, yeah, that's not going to happen. Like Zayas was on the Captain America book by JMS, didn't stay on that long and comes back and forth. Here, it's the first 3 issues. I don't know if Zayas is back because I'm reading this in trade, and the next one won't be till April. But yeah, the first 3 issues, and they look gorgeous. This is a pretty graphic book, and it's kind of perfect for Halloween, if I'm being honest. This comic is absolutely it's an absolutely perfect comic for Halloween, which it's funny because like I've had a whole string of I've had a little bit of a string of comics that you could read for Halloween. Of course, Batman 89 Echoes, which, but it does have the Halloween vibes. This, and another book I'm currently reading, which stay tuned for that review. But anyway, this comic is also violent. Like, violent as all hell. Like, Carnage is just absolutely, like, Eddie and Carnage are just absolutely butchering people in this book. Like, it is an absolute slaughterhouse in this comic. It's a violent it's a pretty violent comic, and also I love the back and forths between Eddie and Carnage in Eddie's psyche, because Carnage is absolutely psychotic, but he's also smart. Like, he's also he knows where to dig, because technically speaking, Carnage is a Venom, so he does have a psyche of Brock as well. So Carnage knows where to dig. Carnage knows where to dig at Eddie's brain, and Eddie's doing everything in his power to stop him. The comic's kind of split up into two parts, or several stories. One where Eddie and Carnage killed a serial killer who turned out to be a pilot in the middle of a flight, leading to Carnage kidnapping several like all the other passengers and hide them to keep Eddie from like offing himself to end them both. So it's more he's like, I stored them away. They're not dead, but maybe they will be if you try anything, Brock. On top of that, the story then goes on to Eddie and Carnage confronting Bushwhacker, who's hiding as a police officer. There's actually kind of a really brutal line that I was like, ooh, fair though, where during the fight, they're in a police station because Bushwhacker was posing as a cop. Eddie goes, he killed he killed everyone in that police station. And Carnage just goes, it was a police station, Eddie. There was no one innocent in that room. I was like, woof, shots fired, literally. And then it goes into the other part of the story where the next target on Eddie and Carnage's list is Muse, which, again, this was written by Charles Soule, who did create Muse during his Daredevil run, and was also, like, during the time of this comic coming out, Muse was was one of the villains for Daredevil Born Again. So I'm sure Marvel was like, hey, are you going to put Muse in your book? Like, we need to have Muse out there. Like, put Muse in there. And he's like, sure, okay. So we're on a collision course. It ends with a collision course between Eddie and Muse. Eddie and Muse. But all in all, this is a great excuse me. This is a great horror book. This is a great superhero horror book. I love the dichotomy between Eddie and Carnage, and I cannot wait to see what happens next between these two. My only gripe is it ended way too fast for this volume. So there you go, guys. I highly recommend Eddie Brock Carnage. And if you have read it, let me know in the comments below. But other than that, Chris, thank you once again for the book. And I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in Multiverse.